After last week's Republican debate, the GOP donor and media class have a new queen, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. The Washington Post conservative columnist Kathleen Parker raved about Nikki's brains and experiencing, declaring, quote, "Hands down, Nikki Haley won the first GOP debate." New York Times' David Brooks cut to the chase, directly appealing to Nikki's likely constituency, writing, "Donors, this is the moment to give her a chance." Media mogul Rupert Murdoch made his new favorite clear through the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which fawned over Haley's, quote, "debate truths," and through the mouthpieces on Fox and Friends, who unanimously declared Haley the debate's clear winner, in particular because they love her neocon foreign policy. Brian Kilmeade called her right in every sense of the word. Ducey claimed his informal poll of fellow Fox talent and other assorted friends indicated Haley, quote, "ran away with the show." Ainsley jumped in to take Haley's side, deeming Ramaswamy's response unimpressive and unsatisfactory in that foreign policy exchange. Ainsley was also particularly dismayed at his lack of support for unconditional aid to Israel. Now, it makes complete sense that Nikki Haley would receive a rapturous reception from legacy Republican elites. Her worldview is perfectly aligned with their interests. She is all in on forever proxy war in Ukraine. She will never even think of cutting back on our massive aid to Israel, no matter what atrocities our ethno-state allies inflict on Palestinians. And since she didn't have a chance to make it clear on the debate stage, she quickly took to the cable news airwaves to proudly declare she would cut Social Security by lifting the retirement age. Take a listen.
Well, you've got multiple candidates on that stage that said they wouldn't touch entitlements, including Trump. And any candidate that says they're not going to touch entitlements means that they're basically going to go into office and then leave America bankrupt. Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 8. So the way we deal with it is we don't touch anyone's retirement or anyone who's been promised in, but we go to people like my kids in their 20s when they're coming into the system, and we say the rules have changed. We change retirement age to reflect life expectancy. Instead of cost of living increases, we do it based on inflation. We limit the benefits on the wealthy, and we expand Medicare Advantage plans.
What's the right age there then, Ambassador?
Well, I think we have to do the numbers. We've got to figure out what it is. But what we do know is 65 is way too low, and we need to increase that. We need to do it according to life expectancy.
Even Nikki's Trump critique is in tune with the big financial interests that have always dominated the Republican Party. She's not worried about the corruption of Trump or the massive giveaways to the wealthy or the dangerously belligerent stance towards Iran. At the debate, she laid into Trump on the debt and the deficit. And obviously from her comments on entitlements there and her love of the war complex, the only cuts she's really interested in are those that would slash benefits for ordinary Americans, not the type that might unsettle our financial overlords. Now, let me say, there's at least one thing I do like about Nikki Haley, and it's that I don't think that she would create the type of Trumpian chaos that he stoked on January 6th with his persistent lies about election fraud. She'd probably be open to the type of Brooks Brothers coup that George W. Bush pulled off back in 2000, but the ragtag overt Keystone Cops insurrection would not be on the menu, and I do genuinely appreciate that. I also like that she's not a terrifying religious zealot in the way of Mike Pence. And on the optics of the debate and the type of political theater that is rewarded in such settings, I do think she performed well, and voters seem to agree. Polls following the debate showed the former South Carolina governor receiving high marks. Most had her coming third to just Ramaswamy and DeSantis. One even had her, quote, winning the debate overall. But even with Haley vastly exceeding expectations and performing to probably the peak of her abilities, the limits of her throwback Reagan-era politics are obvious in her continued low polling support. In the post-debate polls, the very best for Haley showed her barely jumping into double digits, barely threatening DeSantis, let alone Trump. That an elite pro-Nikki consensus formed so quickly really reveals that these people still have no clue about how to actually defeat Donald Trump. No idea about how much contempt the American people have for them and for their failed ideology. Elites have long fantasized that Trump is the whole problem in American politics. That we could just somehow get rid of him, then politics could get back to, quote, normal. A normal which included endless class warfare against working class people and ever skyrocketing inequality. But just take a look at this. If you remove Trump from this GOP primary, it's not the throwback Nikki Haley candidates who rise to the top. It's the candidates who most closely impersonate the big guy. Ramaswamy leads at 24%, DeSantis statistically tied with him at 23%. No one else cracks double digits. This is nothing to celebrate, by the way, guys. Vivek is a full-on climate denier who, out of ambition and political experience, is eager to watch the world burn even faster. DeSantis merrily uses immigrants and trans people as human pawns for political advantage in whatever culture war happens to be hot online that day. Both of them want to wage war on Mexico, apparently, and presumably because they saw some poll that said that's what the GOP base wants. But no one should be surprised when charlatans arise to fill a vacuum created by decades of disastrous policies, which have destroyed the middle class, commodified our entire lives, and sold off our futures to the highest bidders. And until we address that core rot, we are going to be left with a kind of depressing politics, which would force us to choose between a Haley or a DeSantis, a Trump or a Biden. In other words, Trump and his wannabes, they are a symptom of these deeper problems. But Nikki Haley and her benefactors, they are the problem. And the answers were nowhere to be found at last week's debate. Sagar, what do you make of the Nikki Haley moment? I was sort of amazed at about how quickly they all got on the same narrative about how she is now the one, right?
Well, the Israel thing in particular. I mean, if you want to talk about what really the donors, a lot of them care about, like that's what, especially some of the anchor donors, people like Paul Singer and others who are most involved. The thing is that, look, there is a strain of people who are Republicans who do agree with Nikki Haley. And the donors very conveniently make sure that they back and put that person to the max extent of their political appeal. So that's what we're going to see. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's like Haley, what drove me crazy is she was like, you have no foreign policy experience. I'm like, what did you do? You served a freaking UN ambassador. You raised your hand and took a photo after serving as South Carolina governor. What foreign policy experience do you have?
Well, you know what?
You read a resolution at the freaking screw you.
Yeah. Well, and as I indicate, I have problems with Vivek's foreign policy as well, although on Ukraine, I'm more towards his side than I am towards her side. But you know what actually really bothered me? Is she out and out lied about, she said Putin had said that he was coming for Poland next and the Baltic states next. He didn't say that.
No.
And if the lie was told on the other side, oh, the outrage, oh, there'd be endless fact checks, oh, they would, all the Russian propaganda, Kremlin, Putin, et cetera, et cetera. But when the lie is told in service of the elite consensus, she won. She was great. She's amazing. She's the one. We need her. We're going to put donors, please. I love David Brooks. So we're donors. Give her a chance. This is the person of the moment. And, it's lots of 2016 vibes, like floating around trying to figure out who will be the one to defeat Donald Trump without any deeper reflection about what it is that he tapped into and what you would actually need to do to move beyond him.
I don't disagree. It's the same thing. It's like, is Trump the symptom or is he the problem? To me, it's very obvious that he is a symptom. And for most people especially who are elites, they cannot grapple with that whatsoever. Haley is the best example. But the reason why it galls and annoys me the most, her and Mike Pence, is you guys work for the guy. So where were all these criticisms then? So your naked ambition, it's fine whenever he's the freaking president, but when he's gone, it's like, if anything, it just makes it even more dishonest.
Yeah.
It's like, if you believe it, then sit it out.
Well, even Krystal.
Yeah.
It's like, you were all in on all of it until Trump basically almost killed him with COVID. I think that was the real breaking point. But all of these people, it's just about their ambition. Yeah. It's just about whatever they think is going to serve them in the moment, and they're playing the role.
Ugh, they disgust me, I'll be honest.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed seeing us react to each other's monologues, make sure you subscribe so that you can see our reactions to every single piece of commentary.
That's right. Go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber today.